Hi there. It's been a while. Have wanted to make a video for a long time about my China trip. So I got back about two weeks ago or more, but I didn't get a chance to make a video. I should have done it earlier on, being in the mood and everything. And that's one bad thing, I think, when we travel, and we don't travel necessarily for a long period of time. So 2 or 3 weeks is not really a long period of time. Um, then we're excited when we get back, and we get back, and a couple of days after, it's like we never went away. It's like it never happened. Um, so that's one downside to traveling. Best thing to do would probably be to travel for longer periods of time, 3 months, 6 months, a year. So um, I'm gonna make a video before it completely leaves my mind. Uh, China. What first impressions? I was very impressed with the way that they're doing things over there. Um, you hear a lot about China in the media, and people talk about it. So it wasn't quite what I expected, but it was very, very good. Probably even better than what I expected. Um, so it must be said, there's a lot of problems there, probably. I'm not sure, political problems and that sort of thing. There's a lot of issues, but they are doing very well. From what I can tell, they're doing very well. Um, there's a lot of there's a lot going on there. Um, I mean, if I compare it to here, to where I live, Melbourne, it would be similar, say in a big city in China, um, to Melbourne, but much, much more. So you have the skyscrapers here, then you have, a few of them. Then there you would have, hundreds of them, thousands of them. So I was very amazed at what they're doing there. I'm not a business sort of person, um, or even a politics sort of person, but I could tell that they're really doing very well. And in a few years, maybe they'll be doing even better. And they're putting themselves out there and involving themselves with the globally with the rest of the world, internationally. So they're very much an international sort of place, um, having a lot of say and influence um, in the international world. So they're a very important country, I would assume, and that will continue and increase as time goes on. Um, so yeah, China's continues to play a very important role in the world stage, as opposed to Australia, which does maybe to some extent, but I think Australians overestimate Australia. I think that we are a very small thing in the big picture, a very small dot in the big picture. We've got a lot here. There's a lot to offer. Um, Probably more opportunity than a lot of places, but I think we need to realize that we do not. Um, we do not. I mean, in the big picture, we put things into perspective. We're not. We're a very small nation. We don't have a huge influence in the world. So that was very interesting. What else? So I thought, yeah, people were very interesting. Very interested if you show interest in their culture and language, they'll be, very even more interested in you, being a foreigner. I don't know what they think of foreigners, but everything seemed to be quite positive. Um, yeah, so I enjoyed that. Having gone there on a tour group, it's very fast paced. So even though it went quickly, while I was there, it actually seemed very slow because moving around a lot and being tired. One day felt like a week sometimes. going from place to place with heavy luggage and so on. So, it was very good though. We saw a lot. We went to Beijing, to Shanghai, to Xi'an, to Chongqing, and there's others, I can't think of them, but I was very impressed with Beijing. That was very good. Shanghai was very good, but I probably weren't there long enough to see Shanghai. Xi'an I quite enjoyed as well. I thought that was quite good. I didn't enjoy Chongqing as much, but still very interesting. Very, very interesting culture. The food was fantastic. Probably my favourite thing. I really, really enjoyed the food there. Um, having been taken out by a local, so on the tour group, all English speakers, taken out by a local Chinese guide. So obviously he knows all the places where to go, and he knows the language and everything. So it was a little bit more of an authentic experience. Also encountering locals a lot more with through train travel, sleeping overnight on the train from city to city. You might be sharing a bunk with other locals going to another city. So that was good. I guess with these cheap sort of tours, you're more unlikely to encounter something authentic, as opposed to a really expensive tour where everything's more upper class, maybe. So that was quite good. I was with mainly Australian and New Zealanders, um, so we had a lot in common. However, may have been more interesting with different nationalities, just for a change. Get a different perspective. Um, Sort of trying to get away from the Australian and English speaking world for a few weeks. I was trying to, but it didn't quite work out. But it was very good nonetheless. There was probably only about 6 people on the tour, a few couples and so on. But it was very interesting. We got to see a lot. Got along with everybody. It's just good to see something that's not quite like your own country. Something you see the people are. This is the great thing about travel. You get to see that there isn't one way of living. There isn't one way of viewing the world. Multiple ways. There's no one right way. And you'll quickly see that when you go to China or anywhere, how people behave and interact on a daily basis, how they do business, how they go about their lives. And it seems to be very much fast-paced in China, sort of life. And to some extent here too, that would be true, but a little bit different. So it seems as though it seems as though it's every man for himself, but I think there's more to that, more to it, because have a different view on life and so on, a different culture. So yeah, there's no wrong or right there. That was very good. Food, language. As you know, I do not speak Chinese. I like to when I travel. I like to study up on that language before I go, um, which is what I did with Indonesia and Germany and so on. But in this case, I didn't. This was kind of an unexpected trip, so I didn't really study beforehand, not much anyway. While I was there, though, the tour guide was very interested in me because I showed an interest in his language. So he would push me every day to say a few words. He'd teach me something, and we'd have the opportunity to use it nearly straight away, which was fantastic. Yeah, he was extremely patient as well. He was very encouraging. I never had to initiate. He would always say something to me or ask me how to say something. He would quiz me, and then we'd have a little Chinese lesson every day, which is great. So I didn't go there prepared, really. I only knew a few words, and but still sort of may have helped me in some way. In the beginning, I could hardly say anything, and at the end, I could still not say much, but it was more than what I went with, probably 40 words more than what I knew before, and I could at least point and say a few things and order a meal and that sort of thing. Nothing too impressive, but there definitely was an improvement. And this leads me to the next point I'm going to make. It was bad that I didn't I wasn't prepared for my trip language-wise. However, having said that, when you're in the environment, if you want to learn, you can learn it. And it's such an advantage being in the environment. Um, anything that you learn most things will stick straight away and if you use them, they'll stick because you're in the environment. So if he teaches me how to say, wait at the bill or something, or let me think of something, I don't know, word for like receipt or something, or good morning, even something simple, I'm going to remember it because I'm going to hear it, I'm going to say it, I'm going to hear it, it's going to be around me, it's going to be around me straight away. It's not like learning the language here and you have to sort of create your artificial environment in order to learn that language. You know, a lot of input or whatever, reading, listening, and writing. You can put posters up in your house, you can, I don't know, you can keep a journal, you can watch movies or whatever. You can do that stuff, but it's still not the same. It requires a lot more time and effort, as opposed to being in the environment. Of course, it will be very slow this way. It's a lot more painful not going there with any language. It's slower and it's more painful. But if you're fortunate enough to have someone to help you, or you're studying yourself, and yeah, then I think you can doing 6 months of what I did. If I did that for 6 months, I only did it for 2 weeks. 6 months or more, a year or 2 years, then I would be speaking that language. Of course, as I said, better to go there prepared though, in most cases, because you can't just go up to people and start talking to them straight away. You can't do that. And if you say something to them, then you won't understand what they say back to you. It doesn't really work too well in the beginning. You have to be very patient. As I said, it's painful, but it can be done. So that's one. It was a different experience for me. Yeah, it was very different from what I'd done beforehand, or at least with Indonesia, I was able to start conversations from day one and have long conversations. Of course, though, it must be said that I still had a lot of gaps and still had a lot of trouble understanding people because I wasn't used to really using that language in a real environment. But then I got placed into a real environment. That knowledge did help me in a lot of situations, and I did slowly get used to the way people talked. But I could pretty much, in most situations, in a taxi, in a restaurant, in a hotel, um, just or with anyone making small talk or whatever, I could do that from day one. I could not in China. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be learning Mandarin Chinese. I may want to. One of the problems was, I mean, I'd like to go and teach English overseas somewhere. And there are a lot of possibilities, a lot of possible countries I could go to. But I thought going to China would make my decision easier. It did not make the decision-making process any easier. It made it more difficult because I enjoyed it, and I thought, well, I could see myself here again. So it didn't really make it any easier in terms of knowing where to go. And should I study Mandarin Chinese? Should I study Cantonese? Should I study Korean? Should I Indonesian? Well, I'm doing Indonesian anyway, and I'm not going to stop that. But I like it a lot. But still, it would be nice to know some Mandarin Chinese or some other language as well. Yeah, so that depending on where I end up, I may be continuing Chinese. So I think Chinese is an interesting language. I think it's worth looking into if you are interested in it. Even if you're not interested, if you want to travel, then of course it would be very useful. But even if you don't, and you live in Melbourne or Sydney or anywhere in the world really, in Canada, United States, UK as well, I'm sure that you could benefit from studying Chinese, Mandarin Chinese. even probably Cantonese too, since the majority of migrants have been from Cantonese speaking areas. So that's a little bit about China. Sorry about the delay. I've been a bit busy, but I had a bit of time today, and I didn't really want to let it go completely. As I said, when we travel, we come back home, we get into our routines, and we very, very quickly forget about the trip. And that's a disadvantage. Come back and not much has really changed. So thanks for that. Look forward to your comments, and I'll be making a few more videos in the next few days, I hope. And yeah, thanks for watching.